Welcome to your channel for mysterious curiosities and hidden knowledge of humanity. Today, you will learn the story of a 3,700-year-old Babylonian tablet that remained forgotten for centuries until an artificial intelligence revealed a terrifying secret capable of changing everything we know about the past. So leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell, because what you are about to discover will shake up your view of history and science. The AI processors hummed for days, processing patterns no human eye could see. Their target? A 3,700-year-old Babylonian tablet called Plimpton 322. At the time, we didn't realize its importance. Later, it became one of the most studied objects in the ancient world. For 100 years, this artifact was a mystery. It was believed to be merely an aid for teachers. Then the AI concluded its analysis. The result produced was not a translation of words, but of pure mathematics. It was a perfect and elegant system of geometry that should not exist for another 1,500 years. This discovery not only changes the history books, but reveals a terrifying truth about a lost intelligence that defies explanation. The tablet in the dark. For more than 100 years, it lay silent in the climate-controlled archives of Columbia University. A broken piece of baked clay, about 13 centimeters wide and 9 centimeters high, it is known as Plimpton 322. Discovered in the early 1900s in the scorching land of present-day Iraq, near the ancient Sumerian city of Larsa, it was unearthed by Edgar Banks, archaeologist, diplomat, and treasure hunter, the real-life inspiration for Indiana Jones. He, like everyone else for a century, had no idea what he had found. The tablet was covered in a complex writing system called cuneiform, one of the oldest forms of writing made by pressing a stylus into damped clay. But it was not a story or a royal decree. They were just numbers, 4 columns and 15 rows of them. For decades, the biggest names in archaeology and history looked at Plimpton 322 and came to a simple conclusion. It must have been some kind of teaching material, a list of mathematical problems for students to solve. Or perhaps it was simply an accounting book used by a scribe to record merchandise. That seemed logical. After all, the Babylonians were known for their trade and bureaucracy. The numbers were written in their sexagesimal system, base 60. This is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour. This system was incredibly advanced for its time. But even so, the tablet was seen only as a historical curiosity, a vestige of ancient arithmetic. What many ignored was that the patterns on the tablet did not appear random. There was order, a strange and almost elegant progression that no one could explain. The mystery of the triangles. Many are obsessed with finding hidden messages in ancient artifacts, but this wasn't a conspiracy. It was an uneasy feeling among some mathematicians that there was something profoundly wrong with the official version of history. The numbers in the columns seemed to relate to the sides of right-angled triangles, what we know today as the Pythagorean theorem. But the truth that no one mentioned is that this tablet was written more than 1,000 years before Pythagoras was born. How could the Babylonians have known this? And why would they create such a long and complex list of these Pythagorean triples? Some numbers were gigantic, describing triangles so vast and precise that it would be almost impossible to discover them by chance. For example, one line corresponds to a triangle with sides measuring 12,709 and 13,500. It simply didn't make sense. For a century, the tablet's true purpose remained a ghost, a whisper of lost knowledge haunting the fringes of history. It was a message frozen in time, waiting for a key that humanity simply didn't possess. But that was about to change. In our modern world of data and computing power, a new kind of mind would be unleashed upon this ancient enigma: artificial intelligence. The silence was about to be broken, and the message would be terrifying. Unlocking the Babylonian genius. Traditional methods have failed. For generations, scholars have viewed Plimpton 322 through the lens of our own mathematics. They were only looking for what they already knew. The turning point came when researchers decided to stop searching for familiar patterns and instead let a machine search for any pattern. They fed a high-resolution scan of the tablet into a specialized AI designed to find relationships in enormous datasets invisible to the human eye. The AI was not programmed with preconceived notions about history or mathematics. It was simply a logical and pure mind. It began processing data from 3,700 years ago, analyzing every mark, every line, every tiny imperfection in the clay. What the AI found was, to say the least, a bombshell. She confirmed that the tablet did indeed talk about triangles, but it wasn't just a random list of examples. It was a trigonometric table. The lost trigonometry. Now, the word trigonometry might bring back memories of high school math, but bear with me, because this is where things get really impressive. Our trigonometry, the one the ancient Greeks are credited with inventing around 120 BC, is based on angles and circles. It's full of approximations, never-ending numbers like pi. It's useful, but not perfect. What AI revealed was that the Babylonians had created a completely different type of trigonometry, based not on angles, but on exact ratios. Using their base 60 number system, they created the world's only completely accurate trigonometric table. It was perfect. There were no approximations or rounding errors. Pure mathematical elegance. Imagine you are an ancient builder, tasked with erecting a massive ziggurat, a stepped pyramid reaching for the heavens. You need to get the slope of the walls right repeatedly at each level. With Greek trigonometry, you would always have small errors that accumulate. But with the Plimpton 322 system, you could calculate perfect slopes, perfect angles every time. The AI showed that the 15 lines on the tablet describe a sequence of 15 right-angled triangles whose slopes decrease logically and consistently. It was a powerful tool, a master project for construction and surveying. This wasn't just a dusty homework assignment, it was a work of unparalleled genius. AI didn't just translate the tablet, it decoded a lost science. It proved that more than 1,500 years before the Greeks, the Babylonians weren't just doing basic mathematics. They were developing a better and more perfect form of mathematics than we have today. And this revelation opened the door to a truly daunting question. The message from Plimpton 322 is terrifying, not because it predicts the end of the world, but because it proves that a huge chapter of our own history is a lie. The orderly progression of human knowledge that we learn in school, from the Babylonians to the Egyptians, then the Greeks, Romans, and finally us, is wrong. This suggests that there was a gigantic peak in understanding, a moment of absolute genius almost 4,000 years ago, which was completely lost, forgotten for millennia, only to be rediscovered in fragmented form by the Greeks. What many have overlooked is the scale of this intellectual chasm. It's like finding the electrical outlets for a spaceship in a medieval castle. They simply shouldn't be there. So let's think about this for a moment. If they had this perfect form of mathematics, what could they do with it? It wasn't just for building pyramids. Trigonometry is the language of the universe. It is used to measure distances between stars, design complex machines, and map vast landscapes. Could the Babylonians have mapped the Earth with a precision we can't even imagine? Could they have predicted astronomical events with an accuracy comparable to modern computers? The legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon were one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. What if they weren't just gardens on a hill, but an architectural marvel of geometry and engineering built using this lost mathematical perfection? This forces us to ask, what else did they know? A lost library? This tablet is probably just one page from a much larger body of work, a single surviving fragment of a library of geniuses. The truly terrifying part is the concept of lost knowledge. This means that humanity could regress. This means that an entire civilization could possess a scientific understanding far beyond its time, only to be erased from existence by war, disaster, or simply the passage of time. Could there be other tablets buried beneath the sands of Iraq, guarding even greater secrets? Blueprints for technologies we haven't yet invented? A deeper understanding of physics or astronomy? The discovery of this perfect mathematics on a single tablet suggests we are only seeing the tip of a colossal iceberg. We have always viewed the Babylonians as an ancient and primitive people, but the message of Plimpton 322 is that they may have been, in some respects, more advanced than we are today. They weren't just beginning the journey of discovery, they may have already reached a destination we haven't yet arrived at. And that brings us to the greatest mystery of all. So how does a civilization with that kind of knowledge simply disappear? That's the question that keeps historians and scientists awake at night. The official story, the one you find in most books, is that the answer is probably much more mundane. And also much darker. The Babylonian Empire was a place of constant conflict. It rose and fell several times, conquered by the Hittites, Assyrians, and finally the Persians. Libraries were burned, cities razed. In this chaos, knowledge was fragile, often guarded by a small class of elite scribes and priests. If this class were exterminated, its knowledge could be lost forever. It's possible that the perfect trigonometry of Plimpton 322 was a secret, a powerful tool guarded by a select few. When they were gone, the secret died with them. That's a clean and simple explanation. But many people are beginning to believe it's too simple. Do these things really happen overnight? Does a society simply wake up with a perfect understanding of mathematics, more advanced than the Greeks would develop over 1,000 years later? Or are we missing a key detail? The discovery forces us to consider that history is not a straight line, but a series of peaks and valleys. And it is here that history enters the unknown. The legacy of an older civilization. Because the tablet not only challenges history, it opens the door to much bolder theories. What if the Babylonians weren't the inventors of this mathematics, but merely its heirs? Think about it. This theory suggests that a much older and more advanced global civilization existed, a true lost golden age which collapsed thousands of years before Babylon itself existed. In the aftermath, the survivors scattered across the world, carrying only fragments of their former glory. Perhaps Plimpton 322 is one of those fragments, a single page from a lost scientific manual preserved by Babylonian scribes who perhaps didn't even fully understand its power. This would explain why we see knowledge out of place in other parts of the ancient world. It would reinterpret the Babylonians not as pioneers, but as librarians of a world almost erased from memory. What no one mentions is that Babylonian texts, as well as those of their Sumerian predecessors, are full of stories of powerful beings who descended from the heavens to teach humanity. They called them Anunnaki and attributed to them the gifts of law, agriculture, and science. Is it really so absurd to imagine that this perfect mathematics was not a human invention? Could it be an extraterrestrial language, a divine plan for understanding the universe given to a select group of priests? Perhaps the tablet is less a human textbook and more an instruction manual left by visitors from another world. And then there is the most unsettling theory of all. What if the knowledge wasn't lost, but deliberately hidden? Imagine you were part of a secret society of scribes who understood this perfect mathematics. You would realize it was a key to building colossal monuments, predicting the movement of the heavens, and perhaps even creating technologies that could be used as devastating weapons. You would look at the world around you, full of war and greed, and decide that humanity simply wasn't ready for this. So you would hide it, not by burying it, but by leaving it in plain sight, disguised as a simple ledger that no one would look at twice for thousands of years, waiting for a future civilization, perhaps an artificial mind, capable of finally understanding the message. And now, I want to know from you. Has humanity undergone a technological reset? Are we simply rediscovering secrets that our ancestors mastered thousands of years ago? Leave your opinion in the comments because I really want to know what you think of this story. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming journeys into the unknown. Until the next mystery.